This show starts. It starts.
Hey,
There's gonna be nothing going on today. We'll see you all later.
can you feel it? Can you feel it?
I can. This is the most exciting time in Windows. Probably since I would say announced maybe Windows 10.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever that was. So the last day of September, 2014, I think.
Yeah, middle of Dreamforce, San Francisco. I wasn't there. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. You weren't there. That's weird.
No, they didn't invite me. I have no idea why. And then I will never forget this.
That's the welcome to the roulette wheel.
I will never forget this. I know why it's stuck in my mind. I tweeted out because Microsoft wasn't live streaming it either. Remember?
Yeah.
And
yeah. So you would have been. You were still at Neowin, I guess. Right,
I tweeted out something to the effect of Microsoft's about to launch its next billion-dollar OS, can't even figure out a live stream. And some people on the corporate communication side reached out and said that was a little rude. And I said maybe the live stream got lost with my invite.
Yeah.
And yeah. Anyways, it's always been a fun relationship. But this one is live streamed, so we can all...
Yeah, for one and all.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be. It's 2021,
Yeah. Anyway, so I think we'll see some other stuff today potentially too. I think Cloud PC might be talked about.
That's what I'm wondering about that. Mary Jo would say no to that. I hope I would like them to talk about that. The different ways in which you can access this system, I think, are important. And I assume I know there are other stories around Windows 10 for developers, for different types of customers. I don't know, what the plans are around that stuff, but upgrading cost, there's so much to talk about.
Licensing.
And Microsoft 365 more broadly, right? How is this thing the ultimate Microsoft 365 client, I guess?
You know what I'm waiting to watch and see? Cortana. I'm serious. What is the role?
Brad, I don't know if you follow the Halo series, but much like Cortana disappears at the end of Halo 5, was it?
I wonder if Satya walked over to 343 and was like, "Hey, can you guys give us an out?"
Yeah. Could Cortana die? Because she's dying over here. Yep.
So I guess depending on when you listen to this may or may not have already happened.
Right.
Some people watch.
So it's 11 a.m. ET.
Yep.
Nice and early for you folks on the West Coast.
8 a.m.
Middle of the afternoon for you folks in Europe.
Yeah. I like 11 a.m. ET. That's when everything should be. We usually get it 1 p.m. and it's
So, by the way, I do too. But do you find it interesting that they use that as the time?
Oh, yeah. It's because it times up with 11 o'clock. I bet they have some announcement online for 11 a.m.
Yep. Sorry. You're right. That's the most obvious thing on earth. I will just point to my incredible tiredness. By the way, just an aside, because you just reminded me of this. One of my big pet, in fact, it might be my biggest pet peeve as a writer is repetitive words in a sentence or a paragraph, right? So in other words, when you say something like, as we write about Microsoft, so it's really easy to say Microsoft. So you can refer, once you've said Microsoft, it could be the company, the software giant. You can't. That's the reason those words kind of pop up.
Redmond-based company.
Yeah. Some guy pointed out I used the word. I think it was interesting, or it doesn't matter. This guy, I was going through comments this morning, right? And I wrote the same word 3 times in one sentence.
Congrats.
If I was a horse, you should make glue out of me right now. That is not just bad writing, but to me is like the cardinal sin of bad writing.
It is. Yeah, I do it too. You don't use the same word twice.
But that just shows how tired I've been, I just had I was like, oh my God, if someone else did this, I would have reamed them all over the place on Twitter or whatever,
Speaking of reaming,
okay.
I think your daughter's my favorite child of yours now.
So I saw that and knew that was going to happen. And I'll just say this. So what you're referring to is I took a picture of someone who was parked on the far side of the stop line.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter chimed in on Instagram and said, "Dad, you do that too." And no, it's not true. So I think she misunderstood what was happening. So in Pennsylvania, there are two kind of incidents with the stop line that are of note to this conversation, right? So if you the stop line that she was over is a staggered stop line. So there are two lanes. One lane's going to turn right and the other lane's going to turn left. And the one that's left is back so that cars turning in front of her and in front of that car have room to make the turn. It's one of the things I really like about Pennsylvania. People here routinely drive over that, and not always all the way over. I would never just take a picture if the front tires were over, I guess. But driving over that line is unsafe because a truck or a car could, and that's their space. That's the only space they have. That's why I took a picture of it. But the other thing that happens is, like in my neighborhood, for example, when you leave my neighborhood or you go out to the next street up, the stop line, there's just a stop line at a T, you have to turn right or left again. Actually, it's the same kind of intersection, but there's only one lane. And the stop line will be like 10 feet back from the street. So in those circumstances, everyone has to drive over that line because you can't see the street to even know if it's safe to turn. Like that's bad design. It's the opposite of the other thing I described. So do I drive over those lines? Of course, everyone does. You have to. You couldn't turn if you didn't drive over the line. You literally can't see down the street. So I don't think she understood the point I was trying to make, which is that on a staggered left-hand stop, driving over the line isn't just lazy and inattentive. It's dangerous. And by the way, and that woman, it was an older woman, she did it at two intersections in a row. And I was at the first one, I drove behind. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And then as we pulled up to the next one, because the light had just turned red, and I'm like, I had time to take out the camera and take a shot. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I wanted to send it to the police. I was like, this person should not be driving. Anyway, my daughter Kelly, she commented on the thing, and I'm like, oh man, this is going to be the favorite comment of everyone who follows me on Instagram. I as soon as I saw it, I was like, here we go.
Look, I much prefer it in the silo where your daughter is just roasting you publicly online, and that's all we need.
I think it's I enjoy that people can see the kind of interaction we have. It's like my son. This was a private thing, but one day my son walked into my office, and this was probably back when I guess it was the Xbox One was launching, something like that year, and I'd leaked all this stuff early on. It was great. And my son walks in with he's looking down at some screen. I don't remember what it was at the time. It was a long time ago, but he goes, yeah, I just saw this thing. It says that like Xbox One's going to do whatever the rumor, whatever it was that I had written. But he's like, he goes, I just saw this thing that said Xbox, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, he goes, but I know it's not true because it was written by this noob named Paul Thurrott. Okay, get out of here.
Yeah. So we'll get 11 today. Maybe some sprinkles of other goodness. We'll see.
Yep. Yeah, it's gonna be a long day. A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, there's the developer event that they announced at 3 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., something like that.
It's pretty late compared to the other one. Yeah. So I'm mostly curious about the stuff we don't know, right? I think a lot of people look at the UI and they're like, they slapped on a coat of paint or whatever. But I always say this, I still think that's very important. I think there's going to be a lot more going on than just that. And there's going to be some artificial stuff that will separate it from Windows 10 because they have to do that and, whatever, to make it seem more different than it is. You've seen some of that performance stuff where you're like, okay, they optimized it for these big little core systems that nobody owns, by the way, yet. But, maybe that changes. It's Windows 10. They obviously they could make the same enhancement to Windows 10. Why would they, right? And so...
Yeah, we're not expecting them to change file structure. They're not going to go from NTFS to ZFS. I don't even know what the next...
Yeah, something like that, sure. You adopt the Unix. It's not going to have a Linux kernel, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's a pretty safe bet.
I'm guessing. I don't know a lot about technology, but that's my guess. So
we'll find out.
Should be good. Damn you, Kelly.